Retiring in the San Miguels, Episode 6, The Voyage to the Magical Islands of the Azores. My plan was to begin looking for a property to buy in Florida in 2024 when the housing prices I thought would come down. But since discovering the Azores, I thought maybe I should visit the islands to see that might be a better place to start my senior retirement community. Normally I love to do all kinds of research when traveling. I was a bit busy and I just looked at a website and came across an article of someone that visited the Azores and used a company called Azores Getaways. So I went to their website and booked a one-week tour to their two most popular islands. It was a bit at the end of a busy summer season. The price was a bit high, but I had the money and I thought, hey, let's take a look at these islands. About a month before my trip, I told my friend, who is also my lawyer, about it, and he had always wanted to go look at the islands as well as the Madeira Islands, and so he decided to join me on that trip. I did look at the other Portuguese autonomous island called Madeira, but I thought it was a bit crowded and more expensive, maybe 10 years ahead of the game compared to the Azores. So I, still thought the Azores was the island for me. It only had 380,000 international visitors compared to the 1.1 million that the Madeiras had in 2019. We ended up taking a separate flight from Tampa to Boston. That was $300 cheaper to do so. Then we took a SAT flight from Boston to Terceira, which put us on the island at like 11:30 p.m. at night. The next morning was amazing. We woke up to the sound of crashing waves once we opened the balcony door to this clean and fresh air. The temperature was perfect. We walked around the outside of the hotel, which was a modern hotel built into the side of an old fortress against the Atlantic Ocean. As you can see in these pictures, it was fabulous. Terceira Island is named because it was the third island that was discovered there. It is the second most populated island and the third largest landmass of the 9 islands. It has an American air base, so it has a very high percentage of people that speak English on that island. They have a UNESCO World Site, Agreda do Hermosa, which is the largest city on the island. The name actually means Bay of Heroism because it defended the island in assault in 1829. Before the trip, I worked with a company called Buy Properties, but it couldn't book any homes to show during the time I was there. So we walked around this quaint city that had all these colorful chapels dedicated to the Holy Spirit. We looked at a number of real estate offices, but all of them were closed, except for one, which we walked in, but they didn't really have anything that they could show us that day, which is the only day that we were available to look at homes. So we did the tourist thing, walked around and ate the local food and, enjoyed the charm of that little city. The next day, Sunday, we took a full tour of Terceira Island, drove around most of the island, saw the big wind farm that generates half the electricity of the island, explored the huge lava tube, saw beautiful hydrangeas that line half of the roads on the island, visited Mount Brazier, and which overlooks the entire city. And at the end of the day, went to a tiny fishing village and ate at a restaurant that served very fresh fish. And it was my first taste of eating barnacles. That's still right here, there.
Barnacle. Okay. He ate a barnacle. Really. We saw it with a nail.
So the next day, we went to the airport and flew to San Miguel Island, which is the largest of the 9 islands and has almost half the entire population of the Azores. Many consider it the most beautiful of all the 9 islands. We visited a military museum that day because my friend Fred is a big military historian and just loves looking at all those old cannons and things. And being a pirate, I enjoyed it myself. Then the following day, on a Tuesday, we took another entire day tour just of the east side of the island. We went to see the Lake of Fire and how they use volcanic steam holes to cook food. Then we jumped into the thermal baths for a nice relaxing dip, and then had lunch where they served the food that was cooked in the steam holes. It was interesting. We saw many wonderful waterfalls, churches, ocean cliffs, and lighthouses. On Wednesday, we took another full-day tour of the western side of the island and saw the most famous volcanic island in the 7 cities area, which is this blue lake right next to this green lake. And this happens mostly because there's fertilizer that runs into the green lake and causes an algae bloom. But it is a very beautiful area, which many times gets fogged over, but the day we were there, it was beautiful. We explored this abandoned luxury hotel that was built right above the lakes. That was an interesting sight to see. And we went to the local public swimming hole, which is built right into the lava rocks next to the Atlantic Ocean. Finally, on Thursday, we got picked up by a real estate agent to look at a property that Fred wanted to see. It was near the city of Riviera Grande, and it was next to a big bridge above the river. It had a great view and it was a good price, but it had a leaky roof issue that would cost too much to fix. So Fred went to go talk to a local lawyer, and I got picked up to see a house I was looking at near Sao Miguel. It was new and modern, and the layout wasn't quite right for what I wanted to do. It didn't have enough bedrooms or any garden space. So that day, that night, we ended up going to a Favo dinner show next to the hotel, and that's sort of a traditional music of Portugal, and eating their salted cod dinner. Our last day, we went to the local market, and I ended up seeing the lawyer that Fred talked to the day before. Then we took a TAP flight back to Boston, but we got in really late and there were no other flights out, so we had to stay for the evening, which costed a whole bunch in Boston. Overall, we both enjoyed our visit to Azores and believed that it was a great place to retire to. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk about one other property that I did look at when I was there.